All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Keys to the Streets. Today, I have a guest on that I'm really excited to feature. It's ironic that he has the same name as who we discussed last week. However, and he also happens to be from New Orleans. But today, we're highlighting Black men in the clothing, fashion, and styling industry. And so today, I have Darryl Bordenave Jr. on. So, hey, Darryl, how are you doing today?
What's going on? I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm well. I just wanted to thank you for, taking the time to meet with me. I know you're all the way in Atlanta. So can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background, and also what's happening in Atlanta? It's been a while since
Okay.
I've been there.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me on the show, first of all. A little background about me is I'm a menswear designer. I've been designing since I was 11 years old. I actually had the name of our clothing line since 11 years old too, so like nothing changed as far as that. I'm self-taught, been designing for a while now. My grandmother actually introduced me to the sewing machine, and it kind of just sparked my interest. And I always wanted the clothing line. I used to look up to like people like Ralph Lauren, but like Shine John, Fat Form, Eniche, Rockaware, all the 90s and early 2000s streetwear brands. And that's kind of how I kind of got my niche in fashion. But growing up, at 15, I moved to Atlanta, and then my eyes of fashion just kind of like opened up because it was just so different out here. I've seen a lot of black wealth and people dressing the way they really wanted to dress. I really kind of got into fashion because of a lack of clothing that I had, and ripping up jeans, spray painting on t-shirts, and that whole thing just because I wanted to have more. And Atlanta just kind of opened my eyes up to more possibilities, and I just kind of ran from there. But Atlanta is pretty cool right now. I know you say you haven't been here in a while, but it's still the same. You know what I'm saying? Black wealth. Everybody in business is just kind of making it happen and growing.
So, as far as what's happening in Atlanta, you talked about, moving to Atlanta. Did you move from New Orleans?
Well, I actually moved from Kansas City, Missouri,
Okay.
to Atlanta right before Hurricane Katrina, ironically. And then Hurricane Katrina happened, that whole shebang or whatever. But yeah, I moved from Missouri. I lived in so many states. I grew up in Birmingham, Missouri, Kansas, New Orleans, Atlanta. I done grew up everywhere. So I done lived in like 5 different states my whole life. So people thought
So,
I'm
would you
almost running from the
say,
police.
so would you say moving around maybe shaped your idea of urban streetwear and shaped what you design today?
Yeah, it definitely has. When I was younger, I was really more into like streetwear, but my brand is more like a high end fashion. So just kind of seeing um, different states and different styles, it really kind of just shaped my mind, and I just kind of put all of it into one big pot of gumbo and created my own style.
Gotcha. And what is your company's name or your design your label?
So my label name is Ruckage Design Company, but Ruckage for short, or Ruckage by Darryl Bordenave. And my tagline is classy, edgy, classic, or classy, edgy, classic. Yeah. And right now I design a lot of men's high fashion outerwear. I'm a full range designer, designing like bottoms, tops, shoes, pants, whatever you want to call it. But I found my niche in outerwear, and that's what kind of got me popular with a lot of different celebrities and people around the city. So that's kind of
Gotcha.
where I am.
So have you styled any clients or had any custom designs for any people or celebrities the audience may know?
Yeah, man, I've worked. It's a wide range of people, anywhere from Lance Bass, from NSYNC. I'm sorry, I couldn't say Backstreet Boys. From NSYNC. I worked with Genuine. I worked with Roscoe Dash. I worked with actor Derek Augustine, actor Rockman Dunbar. I've done some work with Big Sean. I've worked with Mary Mary. Who else? Um, I've done a lot of work with different people throughout the years. So yeah, those are just a few names.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. With the name drops, you got a lot of people you may be familiar with.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
I just wanted to highlight your recent accomplishment. So you just did a collab with Shein, right?
Yes. Dope collab with Shein available
Can
right
you
now online.
can you talk a little bit about that? How was your experience with that? How'd you even get connected to even be able to present your designs to them? Like what was that like?
Okay, so I'm gonna keep it all the way real. So fashion is an extremely hard business, right? Especially being black and being in the high end of fashion, right? Anybody can have a clothing line and do streetwear, and no disrespect to them, but high end fashion is like a needle in a haystack, right, to get in.
Right.
So I was having different opportunities come about, and I wasn't landing the opportunity, and I was like, man, guy, you know what? I've been doing this for so long, and I still haven't reached the pinnacle of where I wanted to be. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give up because I had two major opportunities that I didn't get. I was casted for or being auditioned for this big reality TV show for designers or whatever. They interviewed me and everything. Didn't get that. Then I had another opportunity for this major brand. I don't even want to put their name out there. Didn't get that. Then I was actually being vetted by another major brand. Didn't get that. I was like, God, like it's just not working in my favor. So I was like, you know what? I'm giving up on fashion. Like it's too hard. Like I've been doing it. I've been doing this for so long and nothing is happening. I'm just giving up, man. I just gave it to God or whatever. And I was just mad at God for a whole week. Then my homeboy, he was like, man, you know, if you give up, when you see me, you're gonna have to throw them hands. Like you're gonna have to catch a fade. And I'm like, man, whatever, we can catch a fade, it don't even matter to me. I'm giving up. He was like, bro, he was like, don't give up. He was like, look, you're this close. He's like, what I want you to do is for the next 7 days, I want you to write in your journal or get a journal, write in it, and just write your emotions, how you're feeling, no matter if you're mad, no matter if you're sad, just write it down. And I was like, man, I ain't gonna do that. And I just did it anyway. So by the 6th day I did it, God had put something on my heart and was like, look, this is why you're experiencing what you're going through because you're worshiping this thing called fashion. You put it before me, even though I was going to church, I was praising God, I was doing everything. But when I wake up, fashion, when I go to sleep, fashion, I was putting it before Him. He was like, this is why, you didn't get those opportunities. So I was like, you know what, God, I respect that. And, I'm still just giving up on fashion. I'm just going to redirect my focus and put it back towards you so you won't feel disrespected. So you won't feel like, I'm putting anything before you. So I just gave it up, right? And I got invited to a Neiman Marcus event by this black hat brand that's in Neiman Marcus called Wear Brims. So I could have been bitter and I could have been sad and not go to support another designer. But I was like, you know what? Even though my dreams not coming through are true, let me go and support another brand just genuinely, right? So I'm there. I'm, not even networking, but speaking to people and just hanging out and just, congratulating them, not even thinking about nothing. So I met this girl that I knew in Atlanta. Her name is Kenya. And, she was on Project Runway. I think Project Runway 16, if I'm not mistaken. But I've, seen her in passing. And we always had, we always talk and say hey to one another. And she actually has a collection on Shein. And I was, just congratulating her again and supporting her and, speaking to her about it. And I was like, man, you know what, man, if I had the opportunity, I'll run with it. I said, that's so dope that you got this opportunity and everything like that. And she's like, what? She's like, you want to be on there? She's like, I was like, yeah. She was like, man, well, I can, I can't promise you anything, but I can, send them your work. And if they like it, then, they'll reach out to you. So I was like, okay, cool. So not even thinking nothing of it, because at this point, I'm like, forget fashion, whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I gave her my information. And then, a lot of people in the industry, they say things and,
Right.
they just be talking. So
Yeah.
I really didn't think nothing of it. I didn't even care. I gave her my information and that was it. And I went on about my life, you know what I'm saying? Like 2 days later, I had a contract in my email. Like, hey, we love your designs. We want to work with you. Let's go. And I'm like, what? And I'm like,
Wow,
God,
that's amazing.
I'm like, God, you got to be playing. Like, you playing. I'm like, I'm not. I gave up on fashion, and That was his way of telling me, like, no, like I put this dream in you since you was 11 years old. You've been faithful. You stuck with it. Like this is just the beginning. Like let's make it happen. And I designed the collection like in October of last year, and it came out March 7th. No, not March 7th. When did it come out? March of this year. It came out March of this year, this spring, and it's been going, man. So that's how that came about. I know it's a long story, but I just feel like I had to tell my testimony in that too. You know, just when you're at the point of giving up or you're at the point of breaking, you know what I'm saying? God just throw you a little bone just to keep going, keep going. And I'm still not fully where I want to be, you know?
Right.
But, you know, I'm making strides and, you know, that's how I went.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And I think, like you said, there's so many different things in what you're saying. Um, it honestly makes me think of just like, I don't know if you're familiar with Issa Rae and how she has been building out this basically conglomerate of different types of creative outlets, from film to a music label to all of these things. But when she started out just making her show Awkward Black Girl, and she couldn't get, any opportunities anywhere else, she cast her friends, and she basically said, you should network across. It's not always about networking up. So I think it's just so cool that a Black woman threw you a bone and was like, yeah, you're a designer too. They would love your work. I can't promise you anything, but I'll at least, advocate for you. And I think that just speaks to, just us being in the room. Sometimes it just takes one of us to be in the room to open that door for other people. And so thank you so much for sharing your testimony. And just like, and even a shout out to you, because you were down and you're feeling this moment, and you could still be there and celebrate your friend in his moment. And not your friend, but another designing label. And I think that speaks too, because sometimes you can shut yourself out of opportunities because of that bitterness and because of being on that woe is me. But sometimes being able to just show love and extend love to somebody else, you get blessed. So yes, thank you so much, Darryl. And like you said, how can they find your work? Where can they see your work? Where can they buy your work?
So right now, if you want to shop the Shein collection, you can go in to Shein.com and just in the search engine type Ruckage, Ruckage, and then my whole collection will pop up. But if you want to get something more high end from my personal collection, you can go to www.ruckage.com and you can shop on Ruckage.com. Everything is everything on my website is custom made by me. But everything on Shein's website, you can order it and it'll get to you within like a week's time. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. And also, what do you have? Are you working on any projects now? You have anything on the horizon? Anything rolling out just yet?
Yeah, so I'm actually working on a new collection for my personal collection. Hopefully, I'll be doing another collection for Shein probably next season soon too. But for my collection, I got two collections that's coming out, right, and it's kind of centered around the Black experience in America. So one of the collections that I'm working on now, and it's an exclusive. I haven't even told nobody this yet. It's
okay,
around...
keys to the streets with exclusives.
definitely. It's centered around Black American cowboys, right? And our contribution to American society when it came back to the 1800s, early 1900s,
right, post-slavery,
right, just cowboys. And when we see cowboys, we think of like John Wayne and white men with guns and things like that. But the cowboy term actually come from Black people. When they called Black people a cowboy, that was a derogatory term. That was like, it was called a cowhand, the person who went to go herd up all the cows. And we made cowboys famous. You know what I'm saying? All the stunts and the tricks with the guns and, even grooming to the horses and all that. Like, that was us. But Hollywood turned it around, and made it about, white supremacy and white people or whatever. So
absolutely. Come through with the history. And
Yeah, definitely.
you're in Atlanta, but I'm in Texas, so we still have black cowboys here. So
Man.
you are definitely preaching to the choir in that regard, in that we've known that history of black cowboys, and I think we're trying to preserve that history. Like there's a couple of like black companies now that are racing in different places, like horse racing and all of these different things, because they do want to reclaim the black cowboy in that term. So
Hmm.
that is so cool that you're doing, a collection that complements that. And
Yeah.
I work with so many different types of artists. And so it's so cool to see just that intersection of from music to fashion to curating to visual art, how we can tell our story and incorporate our history in the products and services that we create and that we distribute.
Definitely, definitely, man. I need to come down to Texas or whatever and get more inspiration, man. But I would love to kind of connect with some of the cowboys down there and go to some of the rodeos or whatever, because this collection it's not like, if you look at how cowboys dress back then, people kind of still imitate that style now. But let's put a modern day cowboy from 2022. How would he look? How would he dress? What is his
Okay.
influences? You know what I'm saying? Like
Hmm.
that's where I'm bringing it. They got some people that I guess that's trying to do it now, but it's not 2022. It's not for the future. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's kind of the element that I'm bringing to it. We're still keeping some of the classic themes of the black cowboy or whatever. So that's what I'm working on next. I'm still trying to get like some funding behind that project and some sponsorships or whatever. So, well, God is willing, it'll come to pass. So that's what I'm working on next.
Yes, I actually have a contact. We'll definitely get offline and let me give you that contact because it's a documentary being created about black cowboys. And I
Mm,
think that'd be so cool to connect you. And the team is out of Atlanta, but they're
oh
working with
wow.
some teams in Atlanta as well as some teams in Texas. So
Okay.
that's right in your backyard. So
It
yes,
sure is,
look at
definitely.
that. Look at
Look at God. Look at the connection. You know what I'm saying? Like even this right here, what we're doing, we're speaking, talking, and doing this interview. Like if I wouldn't have gave up, back in October when I was going through, a bad period in my life, I wouldn't even be here now. You know what I'm saying? Speaking to you and even speaking about this new collection that I'm doing. So there are all the listeners out there, man. If you got a dream and it's truly God given and it's your passion, man, I just want to encourage you guys to keep going. I've been doing this 14 years strong professionally and had the dream in my heart since I was 11 years old. And I'm still not where I want to be, but every day I'm making strides to get there. So just please do not give up. I know that sounds so cliche, but that's actually the recipe to your dreams. It's not
it
giving up.
is. It is. And I think about even you and I, us connecting and like meeting maybe what I would say 5 or 6 years ago. Maybe it's been that long. 4 or 5 years or so being connected through Chris. And so it's crazy that now we have an outlet because I for a while I was like, Darryl, I can't wait to work with you in some kind of way, interview you, highlight you, or whatever. And back then, you didn't even have any collections as far as like on a platform like that. So, like you said, sometimes it's planting those seeds, and you never know you're planting those seeds years before you actually see them sprout. So, at that time, I didn't have a radio show. I would freelance right here and there, but now having this outlet where I get to highlight black creatives, entrepreneurs and stories. It's so amazing, but this is probably 7 8 years for me in the making, like you said. So yeah, I just attest to that. Like, do not give up because you definitely just don't know how your journey will align, and there's beauty in the journey. I think we want to
Yeah.
get to the destination immediately, that instant gratification, but it's that grit, that grind that makes you. That's when you get there, what do you have at that point? It's the memories of what it took to get there, and I think now in just society, I was speaking with a friend recently and we were talking about just artists and music artists. And I basically said, once you make it to a certain level, it's almost like you lose fans. People now are in love with seeing the ascent. They're in love with
Mm-hmm.
being a part of your journey of coming, starting from the bottom. Once you get to the top, it's like, oh wait, you at the top and I'm not. Like, then you get the haters.
Right.
It's the
Right.
people on the way up that want to see you, that support you, that fall in love with your story, that I think really just makes the story that much more worth it. But
Right.
thank
And
you.
black. No, not to cut you off, but black women, man. Y'all so powerful. Just in general, man. I just want to congratulate you on everything that you've accomplished this far, everything that you got going on. Because when we met, like you said, we met with your friend, and we was, another major brand that you was working with, and I was trying to do some work with them, but it didn't pan out. But you know, other opportunities persist. You know what I'm saying? And you always stay consistent with me, even if it's just on social media, man. So shout out to you. Shout out to everything you got going on, man. And black women are the future. That saying is so true because a black women have put me and positioned me to where I am today. You know what I'm saying? So kudos to you and every other black woman
Down to
and
your
black men that's
granny
taking the
who even
dreams.
gave you your sewing machine or taught you how to
Right,
sew.
right. Planted seeds early in life. So man, R.I.P. to her. Man, I love my grandma Honey.
Likewise, I lost my grandmother, and it's just life ain't the same after you lose your granny. Like, I don't know what it is. It's just it's different. But thank you so much again for taking the time to meet with me, Darryl. I know we shouted out Ruckage, and you can go to ruckage.com, www.ruckage.com, to check out your work. But if people want to engage with you, interview you, shout out you, or just connect with you, where can they find you on social media?
On social media, Instagram, you can find me at Ruckage, and you can find me at Mr. Ruckage. Facebook is just Darryl Bordenave Jr., but those are my platforms.
Gotcha. Thank you so much again. Y'all have a great day, and thank you for tuning in to Keys to the Streets. All right. Good morning, y'all, and welcome back to Keys to the Streets. Today, we are talking about Black designers and specifically Black men designers and stylists in the fashion and design industries. So, I have Stelly on. Hey, Stelly, how you doing?
I am doing great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on and making the time for me. I know you big in the industry. So I appreciate you taking the time to meet with me. I don't even know. I follow you on social media on Instagram, and I'm like, where is he? Because I know you lived in Atlanta, but you also be in New York and LA. So secretly I'm like, when can I lead Stelly's life? So please, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and how you got started as a stylist?
Yeah, well, yeah, just a little bit about me. I was born in New Orleans, Louisiana. I was raised in Atlanta, so Atlanta is home for me. And I moved out to LA maybe about like 5 years ago. Went out there to basically start within the fashion industry. I had no fashion industry background. I didn't know anyone in the industry. I just kind of got there and had to figure my way out, basically, how to get into the industry. It's funny because when I moved there, a lot of people know that Los Angeles is a very social city. So no matter what industry that you're in order to be successful within that industry, you have to be social in some aspect. And so my thought process was, if I was in fashion, where would I go? Where would I hang out? Where would I drink? Where would I eat? Where would I shop, basically? And so I decided to go to this fabric store called Mood Fabrics. And I would hang out in Mood Fabrics every day. Like, literally, I would go there every day, walk around the store, talk to different people, just try to see what they were doing in the industry and why they were actually there. And it's funny because Mood would see me there every day that they offered me a job. at the
Okay. Talk
time.
about manifesting, fake it to make it, all that.
Right. So I basically I started working there, and then I met this guy that was working for a stylist, and they were looking for interns. And so since I had no experience in the industry, I had to start off as an intern. And so I started with him as an intern. And then from there, honestly, it was networking and doors just started opening. Like they just started opening up for me out of nowhere. And so, yeah, that's basically how I got started. It's really funny to think about it, but that is how it all started.
Yeah, I was talking earlier with someone and we were just talking about the beauty in the struggle. Like sometimes not even the struggle, but the journey.
Mhm.
You sometimes you wake up and it's like, I did what to do what to get
Right,
here, right?
right.
It's like it's almost laughable, but each of those decisions were a domino, to impact your next decision or your next move. So I
Mhm.
just can imagine how it was to move to LA with just like no contacts or anything. So shout out to you for really just making it because LA will really cut your teeth. Like
Oh,
there
absolutely, absolutely, girl. It was crazy. I moved to LA with like $700 in my car.
Oh
Afford.
wow.
That's all I had.
But it's so funny. I hear so like that is the New York story of like going there with nothing has become the LA story. Like I
Yeah.
hear that from so many people who have moved to LA with absolutely nothing and it was like just
Mhm.
I'ma make it. Like
Yeah,
nothing but courage.
yeah, I'm gonna figure it out. Because what you just have to, if there's anything that you want to do, no matter what that looks like, and you know that you can do it, and you know that it's possible, you just have to go out there and do it. You can't let anything stop you. Like not even money, not family, not love. You have to go after it. You have to go after it full force. And if it's meant for you, trust me, the doors will open. Like you don't even have to like push them down. They will.
And and speaking of doors opening, you have now collaborated on projects that have been in Essence, Time,
Mhm,
Billboard. Like, come
mhm.
on, name drops.
Yeah,
Like, can
yeah.
you talk about some of the celebrities you've worked with? I know you talked about how you like to build that relationship with each client. So
Mhm.
how do you build a relationship with this client without being starstruck, honestly?
So I've worked with a lot of different celebrities, from like actors, singers. Seven Streeter was probably one of my favorites. Kaylani, I worked with her a lot. Ryan Destiny, um, a lot of athletes within recent, which has been a good experience. Dwight Howard, he's amazing also. And so for me, I've never been the type to get starstruck. Um, just because I look at everyone as people,
Right.
everyone is just regular people. And it's funny because when you start to work with them, you see that,
How flawed they are.
yeah, yeah,
Oh my God. I
it's the
have a
same thing.
background in PR. So I'm like, I get it. Like,
Yeah,
we sometimes you hold these people up to higher standards and then you work with them. And it's like, I would have I'd like them more had I not worked with them.
exactly. It's a lot of times like it's like I really like my life better. Like there's a lot going on. So it's just like you just always have to like remind yourself that these people are also human just as
Right.
well as you are. And I think that's what makes it easy working with them. I don't get starstruck at all. And I also would say a piece of it would kind of be where I was raised and grew up. Because growing up in Atlanta, that was just a common thing, you know?
Right. You see everybody in Atlanta. Like they really just walk in everywhere. And
Yeah,
they just, it really is everyday people in Atlanta. I
yeah.
think for me, I could probably work with pretty much anybody other than Rihanna and not be starstruck.
Yo, listen, I've had my times where I worked with a client where I was starstruck, but I just didn't make it
You don't
known that I
show
was
it.
starstruck. Yeah, I just didn't show it, but it was like, oh my gosh, I've been watching you since I was a child, and I'm like standing in the room with you. Like, this is amazing, you know? And a perfect example of that would be like Regina King, you know, like I like when I was just around her and like it was like, oh my gosh, I'm in the room with Regina King. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right? Is
I,
she really that funny in person too? I imagine she is.
oh
She
yeah,
just so goofy.
yeah, she's amazing. She is chill, funny, down to earth. Think of like auntie, basically. She's
Oh,
just like,
that's
you know,
good.
an aunt, you know, if you need anything, I got you. Like she's very sweet. But I would definitely say that's one of the examples where I was like, okay, I'm a little starstruck, a little excited to be here, but definitely couldn't make that known.
Yeah, I'm like, for me, it's Rihanna and Gucci Mane. Like
Mhm.
anybody else, but I'm like, I'm such a Gucci Mane fan that I know I would be so stupid and embarrass myself around him. But I'm like, it's literally Gucci Mane. How can you not? But
Yeah, Gucci.
randomly.
I love Gucci. I get it. I love him. He's great.
But yeah, like I mean, just as far as your next steps, because you said you spent some time you moved to LA, but you also
Mhm.
spent time in New York as well, right?
Yeah, so I decided to make the move to New York earlier this year. At the start of this year, I just kind of wanted something new. I kind of wanted to expand.
So are you bi-coastal or are you in just one of those cities now?
So here's the thing: the plan was to be permanently in New York, but the way God is and the way my career is at the moment, I'm definitely going back and forth between LA and New York.
Gotcha.
Because the thing about the industry is, with celebrity styling, most of the celebrities live in Los Angeles.
Yeah, you got to be where the celebrities are.
And most of the like major events, like award shows and all of that, are in Los Angeles. But the thing about New York is that New York has the like magazines and the
Gotcha.
business of styling.
The
So,
fashion spreads and stuff like
mhm,
that. Gotcha.
so it's
Okay.
kind of good to like get out to the East Coast so you can kind of network with the business of styling, you know? So you can kind of see how that moves and how that
Right.
works, and you can meet more people on that level.
And honestly, to get the inspiration, I've been to New York once when I was a kid, but I mean, New York is so fashion forward. I think
Mhm,
there is where you see a lot of the styles that are going to form, the trends that will then kind of ripple effect and hit all of the other markets.
mhm, mhm.
But people dress in New York, baby. They gon'
Yes, they
dress.
do. They do. They dress to impress. And yeah, and it's so interesting because the fashion in LA and New York is just so different. LA is just all about being very like clean cut, like well put together. You know, everyone is very clean cut in LA, and New York is just the total
Right.
opposite.
It's wild, but I mean, I think that's what fashion is. Like fashion is literally something old, something new, something
Mhm,
borrowed, something blue, and that's
mhm.
what you're going to see walking any street in New York. In
Absolutely.
in LA, it's just like we have arrived. This is the package. This is
Right.
the prim and proper, but nah, the style, the slaying happens in New York. So I get
Hmm.
it.
Hmm. It's totally different. Totally different. But I do love New York. New York definitely. I love like the vibe here and the energy here is like nowhere else I've lived, honestly. Like it's amazing. And especially within like the fashion industry, the energy is just like nowhere else. It's great.
Gotcha. So I know you're in the process of building out your own business. You've now started
Mhm.
styling on your own, right?
Yes, yes.
So how do you plan on just expanding that? What are your goals for the future for Stelly? Where do you see yourself in a
Mhm.
year? Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Yeah, so right now I'm just trying to, so I'm trying to get a permanent list of clients where it's, they're always calling me because a lot of clients use a stylist once or use a stylist twice and then they'll move on to another stylist or they might, work with a different stylist here.
Really? I always thought once you found somebody that worked for you, you just kind of worked with them, but that's not the case.
Sometimes.
Okay.
So the goal is to actually find someone that you vibe with 100%, and then you keep that client, and you're just always working with them, you know.
Gotcha.
And it's also nice to have like a roster of them, you know. So if it's like 5 clients, if it's like 6 clients, you know, it's nice to have a lot of them that are there. So that's what I'm working on now. Working on getting my list of clients that, you know, basically feel comfortable with me permanently as their stylist. So within the year, you know, I would love to at least have 4 clients bagged, you know. Um, I will
And
also,
those are essentially like the 4 retainer clients,
yes,
right?
that
Okay.
I know.
Because I'm like, I know you do way more than that,
Yeah,
but
yeah. But these are the 4 where I know they ain't going nowhere. You know,
okay.
I know regardless, they're not going anywhere. Because in this industry, you know, it's all about who you know. It's all about
Right.
So, you know, every different stylist is looking for that next client, you know. So this might be who you work with now, but you may not work with them.
So I have this, like, as you were talking, I just got this random question, but I was thinking, like, have you ever had a client not like your work, or have you had, maybe someone else criticize your work, like in the room? Like, I don't know. I know that's random, but I'm like, I can't imagine, like, you as a stylist, like, oh, here's something I picked out for you, and someone's like, oh no, that's ugly. Like, how do you? Because
And
that's your art.
yes, I mean, the answer to that question is yes. Every stylist deals with that. I mean, if they tell you they don't, they would be lying. But every stylist has definitely experienced that. I've definitely had an experience where I've had a client that was like, I don't like anything on the rack or whatever. It's not really my style. Are we able to use things from your rack and also what I have available at my home or whatever? But you know, I've never had the situation where someone didn't like the finished product, you know, because usually I'm able to make
Pull
it
it
work.
together.
Yeah, put it together. And honestly, that's the point of styling. Like, that's why we have fittings. So we can know, you know, that you didn't like this first rack. So that our next fitting, we can come with a whole new rack. You know, we can come
Right.
up with a whole new thing of options for you. So.
And I guess that's so important, like you said, and why you pride yourself on building your relationships and that connection with your client, because it's like you said, it's not just what fits, it's what
Mhm,
fits with them, what fits their personality, what fits their body type, and
mhm,
what's comfortable for them. Because you
absolutely.
can, pick out something amazing for somebody, but if they don't feel comfortable in it, that changes the whole dynamic of how it's presented on them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like, comfort is the most important thing. I ask my clients all the time, how do you feel? How does it make you feel? You know, because if they're not comfortable, you're going to see it.
Gotcha.
Hmm.
I never thought of that. Like, this is a whole different art. And I think, when we think about art, as I work with visual artists and musicians, and now just speaking with you today, I'm really realizing that it is an art, and
Hmm.
so many things. You can make a life out of a creative outlet that interests you in so many different types of ways.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there's so much more that goes into styling that people do not understand. People think it is so glamorous and it's so easy. Actually blame that off of the heels. I feel like you remember
Oh,
that.
I thought you were going to say Sex in the City, because I definitely blame it for Sarah Jessica Parker.
Oh yeah, that too. Because I feel like on TV they make it seem so easy, it's so seamless, and oh, it's just nothing. You know, I just work in fashion and I look good all the time, and that is not the case. Every time I'm working, I'm in sneakers and sweats or basketball shorts. Like, I'm sweating. It's like a bunch of clothes I have to carry all the time. Like, it's a lot that goes into it, and that's what I want people to understand. Like, this is not an industry for anyone that's weak. You know what I'm saying? If you're not
Right.
ready to work, then it's not going to work out for you.
And as you say that, it just becomes more apparent. I think of all the flashbacks of when I've seen stylists in the room, and
Mhm.
stylists are not treated the best. You know, as I think back on it, I'm like, you really like. It's almost like the lifestyle of a stylist is almost like you gotta. These people gonna be mean to you. They gonna be rude to you, and you just gotta be prepared. You know, and I think
Sometimes.
about that, and
Yeah,
of course, that's not always the case.
yeah,
But it's so easy to set those stereotypes because you see this very, very famous person in a room going through a rack. No, 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 throwing these things on, and it's like, girl, that's my work. Like,
yeah. Sometimes, I mean, yeah, like the times it has happened to me, I've been like, wow, that really hurt my feelings. But it's okay. We got to get past it.
right.
But yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I would say that I've been very blessed to work with some good, positive people.
Good, good.
The times I've had people that weren't too nice, it was just something where that's okay. I'll get past this,
Right. And I was gonna say that it's not like you said, you want those clients that come back that you work with consistently, but it's
Mhm,
also this is experience. This is a
mhm.
one-time thing. Girl, I will never pick up the phone for you again.
Right, right.
But I'm gonna get through this. I'm gonna be professional and I'm gonna learn from it and take from that and move on. So yeah.
Exactly.
So I know we talked about what you wanted to do in a year and
Mhm.
in 5 years, but we didn't mention your urban streetwear line. So can you tell us a little bit about that and you working on that and when you plan to roll that out?
Yeah, so I love streetwear. I love sneakers. I'm a sneakerhead. I definitely, that's probably the best way to describe my way of styling. I like to do a mix of streetwear with high fashion. Because I believe that high fashion gets everything from streetwear.
Absolutely.
And the other thing I love about streetwear is that when you look at people on the streets and what they wear, they're wearing things that tell their story, you know?
Hmm.
So that's what I love about streetwear is that you are literally letting people know who you are without saying exactly who you are. You can see it just through what they are wearing. So, with that being said, I decided I would like to go into streetwear and start my own line. So I have a friend who's this amazing artist. She's amazing. So we're gonna work together on creating a streetwear line. And then I eventually want to get into sneakers. So I would like to have this all, laid out, ready to go within the next year. My friend that I'm working with on is supposed to move to New York in August. And then when she moves here, we're just going to hit the ground running. And so, yeah, I'm super excited about it.
Gotcha. So excited to hear more about that. We'll definitely have to touch base once you roll that out. But
Mm-hmm.
I know you talked about just your influences as far as how you style. Can you talk about some of maybe your favorite other celebrity stylists or just maybe some of your favorite designers?
Oh, yes. My favorite celebrity stylist, oh my gosh, there's like Zarina Akers. In my eyes, she does no wrong. Like, she's amazing. Beyonce,
Hmm.
Black is King was dope. Without Zarina Akers, I don't think that experience would have been as amazing as it was. So I love Zarina Akers. Wayman and Micah is also a duo that I really look up to. I actually worked for them when I first started out in the industry. And they're amazing. They style people like Regina King, Regina Hall, um, Tiffany Haddish, as in
Okay.
Regina, Mary J. Blige, like those type people. Like I really look up to them.
So are they the ones who picked the boots for Mary? Because I need to know.
Yes, they do usually keep the boots from Mary, but I think Mary has a new stylist now. I think now she's working with Jason Rembert, who I'm
Okay.
also a huge fan of. He is amazing too. He does a lot of Lizzo stuff.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, he's dope. Who else do I love? I mean, there's so many. Brian Jabbar. He's amazing. Think of like Sweetie, City
Okay.
Girls.
All right.
Yeah, like he's dope. Let me see who else. I don't want. I don't. I don't want to leave anybody out.
Well, no, maybe I should have said like maybe three. But
Yes.
as far as designers, also, who are maybe some of your go-to designers or like just work that you like to work with?
Yeah, so I love Sergio Hudson. He's amazing. He actually dressed Kamala Harris
Okay.
for the inauguration.
Come on, VP.
Yes. I also really love Laquan Smith. He's super dope. He's super dope. His stuff is very sexy. So think of like Sweetie, you know.
Okay.
See who else are my favorites. There's this up and coming designer, Nicole Santee. She's based out of Los Angeles. She makes amazing suits. I actually used her stuff on Seven Streeter. So if you take a look at her Instagram, you can see her suits. But yeah, those are probably some of my faves. I also, with styling, I also look for a lot of designers that aren't really on the map yet to just try to get you out there. Because that's the thing about styling. Like, our goal is to find the next thing that's hot.
So y'all are essentially the A&Rs of the fashion industry.
Basically, you can look at it that way. Yes.
Because the A&Rs, you want to find that next artist that's going to break, that's going to pop.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, you want to be the one to discover them and to help kind of create that platform. And it doesn't have to just be you. But it's like, you know, when you find their art, it's like, oh, the masses need to know. Like, we got to put them on. Like, let me do my part.
Exactly. And that's the goal. I'm always looking for new, fresh designers. Always. Whether, I don't care if it's menswear, women's wear, handbags, shoes. I'm looking for what's next, what's hot, because I want to help somebody else too within this industry.
Well, yes, I got to connect you with our other guest, Darryl, because he's a menswear designer and he's in Atlanta, the one from New Orleans that I was kind of speaking to you about. But I'm like, yeah, I love that about just Atlanta, though. I don't know any city that networks in the way that Atlanta does. It's like the Black people show each other love. Like, if you do good work, they will come back to you. They will, you know, just sing your praises. And it's not always like that, you know, but I don't know why. As soon as I step foot in Atlanta, it's like, oh, like, let me lay my burdens down. I'm in Wakanda.
Right. And that's the thing. Like, we have to, because no one else is opening doors for us. Like, this, like, even within like fashion, we still experience a lot of racism. Oh my gosh, there is a lot of racism, and it's like very clear. And so, you know, it's our job to like network with each other and put each other on and like make spaces that are for us. We need to create more spaces that are for us, by us. That is the most important thing, because no one is like, they're not opening doors for us. We have to do it for ourselves.
You're so right, Stelly. Well, I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to grace me with your presence and to just tell your story from a stylist point of view. For anyone who wants to connect with Stelly, how can they reach out to you? Like, what platforms or whatever can they connect with you on?
Yeah, I mean, you can find me on Instagram at the Stelly Nation. And my website is also in my bio, where you can see my work. You can also send me an email, which is also on my Instagram as well. I'm someone where you can get in touch with me. I'm not one of those people where I won't respond. I get a lot of DMs, so I definitely respond to them. It may take me a minute because I might be busy, but I definitely love talking to people and helping them out and getting, you know, them into the industry if that's what they're interested in. And if you have any questions too, I have no issue answering.
Oh, you're the best. So thank you again for coming on Keys to the Streets. And I just look forward to just seeing more of your success and reconnecting with you along your journey, Stelly. So thank you again.
Of
Thank y'all for tuning
course.
in to Keys to the Streets. And y'all have a good morning.
Yeah, thank you, Keys to the Street. And congratulations to you. This is amazing. Keep doing what you're
Thank
doing.
you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I
It's really, I literally get to highlight different businesses, different Black businesses, creatives, and entrepreneurs. So it's really a passion of mine, and my platform wouldn't exist without people like you doing the work and having the stories to tell. So thank you again for making that time for me today. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Anytime.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, guys.